Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's guest is Barton Scott, who is a chemical engineer and founder of Upgraded Formulas. Because he was suffering memory loss at such a young age, he started looking at the root cause and how he could cure this for himself. He discovered how mineral supplements lacked effectiveness and absorption into the body, rendering most products in the market useless. And that's where he applied nano minerals to his formulations and developed a solution that makes the minerals up to 99.9% bioavailable for measurable absorption to increase health span, focus, sleep quality, and slow down accelerated aging. His mission is to share his breakthrough with the world and reduce suffering by shifting our understanding of human nature. So let's go say hello to Barton. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhite, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Guess what, everyone? My book is out. It is a revised and updated edition of a book I wrote 5 years ago called No Frickin' Way, 21 Days to Ditch the Diet and Lose Weight the Keto Way by Loving Yourself to Health. When I first wrote the original book, I was not a believer in the low-carb movement, but after all the years of research I've done, I am sold out for life. In this book, you will learn about all the lies you have been fed, how to engage in loving self-care, how to eat nourishing foods that provide massive energy, why the ketogenic diet is not a fad, how to heal your body through fasting, why you should move your body to get stronger, and how to create an empowering mindset. Start reading now and finally achieve the high energy and positive body image you deserve. Check it out on Kindle, on Amazon. And if you like it, please leave us a review because this will help more people find it. I really want to inspire people to not deprive themselves, but to nourish themselves with loving self-care and amazingly healthy food so that they can age stronger. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it. Hey, Barton, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, Tracy. It's great to be here.
Well, I am excited to hear all of the wisdom that you can give our listeners. So why don't you just start off with telling them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So for anyone listening that's gone through health challenges, this was the big driver for me. But what was different for me is I had these two different lenses that a lot of people didn't have, at least a combination that was unique. I had been a chemical engineer. I'd always been fascinated and curious with the outer limits of science and just where we were going in the future and nutrition. And I had been an athlete. So I was an ex-athlete. I was very, very competitive at a high level in wrestling. And I'd played football. And I had developed a lot of nutrient deficiencies. And I found that out through a lot of different testing. And I was working as an engineer, and I knew that I was going to lose my job because of the brain fog I had. Because of that, I really started to think about how I could solve the problem because I had to. I felt like my entire life was going to crumble and I was going to be under a bridge somewhere if I didn't just get my stuff together, frankly. Like there were days where I was fine and there's days that I would walk into a room and go, what was going on? And like, I'd open up a spreadsheet or I'd be writing code, or what was I doing? Like, what's happening? And it was bad. And it turns out that, throughout this time, I was fit too. I mean, that was a crazy thing. It's like I had a six pack or close to it. I was low body fat. I was fit. I was eating a good diet. I was sleeping well. I had, for someone in their like early and mid 20s, I had pretty few vices, I would say. I drank, but not like excessively and stuff like that. So it was really confusing because I felt like I didn't have a whole lot of room to grow in what I could do for my health. And it turns out I wasn't absorbing the nutrients I needed to absorb, and that's what my company does now, is I've applied chemical engineering principles and nanotechnology principles to minerals to solve these problems at a root cause basis. So
Cool. So you were only in your 20s and you were experiencing that?
yes, because I push my. It's funny when I look at my levels now on one of the tests that we sell through upgraded formulas. Uh, I my levels look like a common like 70, 75, 80-year old. It was really bad. The good news is that's reversible if done correctly. But yeah, it was pretty severe.
Wow. Okay. So you just said something. So your company does nutrient deficiency testing. Is that what I heard you say? Okay.
Yes,
Tell me about
and
that.
yeah, sure. So for anyone listening, I mean, I'm sure you've had this problem that sounds a lot like what I just described, because it's very common. I remember thinking, like, how common is this? If I experienced it at 24 and it was only getting worse, and how many people, I was thinking like first, like all the advantages I have, right? First world country, college educated, like understood nutrition, supplemented since I was 13 or 14 as a wrestler, trying to maximize all the nutrients I could get. But for people that have been in, say, weight challenging sports where you're also weight focused, whether it's boxing or wrestling or bikini competitions, or it doesn't matter what it is, but you're watching your macros to such an extent that your micronutrients are getting so depleted, especially if you're also cutting weight or training where you're sweating a lot, right? So I had been doing that when I was growing up early. My father was a wrestling coach, so he was wrestling with me before I could walk, and I'm thankful for all the discipline that gave me, and yet it really, I mean, my cells didn't have the nutrients they needed to communicate. Of that, I realized the most important area that I could solve was mineral, not vitamins, for anyone listening. Like specifically, I'm talking about minerals here because minerals are non-negotiable. We can't make them in our bodies endogenously, right? We have to receive them from outside of us somehow. And the whole planet is made up of that periodic table that we learn in chemistry. So I wanted to understand, all right, how do we test for that? So we do that testing, and then okay, well, how do you understand the test? So consultations, because it turns out it's about the most involved testing that I've ever seen or done. And then as far as nuances, and then all right, so the problem is then you're not absorbing those nutrients that you have. So yeah, right before we started, I told you like Ben Greenfield and I really dove into this, and he was fascinated by it too. And we had a great conversation here recently as well. And yeah, so just yeah, it's been incredibly transformative. And just at this point, my goal is really just to share this proven method that we have, because I didn't have it, and it just felt like my life was over. Yeah.
So why would somebody, so for instance, let's break that down a little bit. So first of all, why would somebody not be absorbing the nutrients or the minerals?
That's a great question. There's a couple different reasons, right? The first one that comes to mind is gut dysfunction, right? There's other things too, though. Chronic levels of stress, which obviously that can lead to leaky gut and gut dysfunction just by itself, even if you do everything else right, which I think I've always just really pushed myself hard and been on this kind of crazy timeline, and that's been good and bad, but that keeps you from absorbing nutrients. And then it's beyond absorption. One of the common things that people say, well, yeah, but I'll get it from my food. No, you won't. Here's why you won't. The soil is so depleted. We have about 2 or 3 inches of topsoil where we used to have 18 in a lot of areas in the world. So that's the place where these micronutrients we're talking about are coming from, right? And I love the regenerative agriculture methods that are starting to pop up more and more. So like if you can, if you have the money to support those sort of ventures, those are great. It's beyond grass fed. It's hey, we're really using everything we know to preserve the future of things and reverse it. But in the short term, between now and then, what we have to do is we have to get our minerals really dialed in if we want to have the best life possible.
So let's talk about that. So have you read Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan?
I've heard of it, yeah, and I've read other things by him, but not that one.
So it explains about how they separated the crops from the livestock and how the sustainable agriculture shifted into factory farming, and it's a great read. Let's go deeper into what you said. So we don't get the nutrients we need from our food because of the lack of topsoil and the lack of mineral replacement in the soil, right? They have 3 instead of how many minerals are there? I don't know.
Right. 84 plus. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's a contributor, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. NPK model is just not, I think that's what you're referring to. It's just not, yeah, it's devastating. That does make me want to read Michael's book. Yeah, I really like his writing.
He taught at Berkeley, and my son was there, so I became I'm like, you got to take his class so I can go and sneak in.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that. They think I'm eating healthy, whole food, vegan, blah, 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 but they don't get it.
Right. So for someone listening right now, right? So I want you to visualize if you eat meat or if you're a vegetarian, it doesn't matter. Visualize either a steak or asparagus, and visualize it being half the color. Let's just go with color. I'm just thinking about this right now because these contain about half the nutrients that they did 60 years ago. So even if the cows fed grass, the grass doesn't have the nutrients it used to. So that results in, if you are consuming meat, it has about 50% of the iron it had, and also manganese, and also chromium, and also, fill in the blank, copper, and all these other things that your thyroid needs, your adrenals need. That is where we are. I mean, that is the dilemma. And I remember seeing that being, I don't know where I really connected that dot, but I connected that dot about 10 years ago, and started thinking, well, we're only going to get more focused on the bottom line as companies, and until large corrective shifts are forced, basically, by a dire situation. And so I had never read Michael's book, but I'm sure I would have agreed with every sentiment.
Well, that's not all from him. I've been studying nutrition for a long time.
Of course, yeah.
So the other thing that I find so fascinating that people don't understand is not only are the crops not, the soil's not fertilized properly, it's not, the minerals aren't replaced, but also food is picked green, shipped across the country, gassed, so it hasn't even had a chance to develop the whole entire nutrient profile. And our needs as humans are larger or greater because of all the attack we are on with the toxins, in our air, in all the chemicals, preservatives, herbicides, pesticides. I mean, all of that crap besides stress, right? So would you say that we have greater needs and yet we're getting less of the nutrients that our bodies need?
That's another great point. There's so many problems that we have from the glyphosate, from Roundup that's being sprayed on crops. Specifically, it causes gut permeability because our gut wall is only like a tenth of a human hair thick. I mean, it's so thin. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so delicate. It's so delicate. So I just did a really long fast, and this is something I'll teach people how to do soon without the pain and discomfort, so they can heal that whole gut system. Because when you're not digesting, you're healing, right? And it's so important.
How long?
Glyphosate can really. I I went 11 days without food.
Just water?
Yeah. Water, minerals, salt, black coffee. Yeah.
Oh my God. I could never do that.
Well, you're also really fit, and I had I think I have the full six-pack back, but I didn't then. I dropped about 6 pounds of pure fat is what I estimate, which was awesome. And that wasn't even the focus. But I realized, wow, this is incredibly effective.
What was the focus? Why'd you do that? 11 days. That's huge.
It was. Well, I like to speak fast. So like I'm fasted this morning right now talking with you. I've been in cold water already this morning. Here we have some springs like about a half mile from my place. But the focus then was I hurt myself, actually. I was out running sprints with some friends and tossing the ball around. And I just had a couple like freak injuries that evening. And I went, well, I'm not going to eat tonight because I'm kind of worried about how it hurt, but it was a different type of pain. I was like, it might need surgery, actually. So let me just like not eat. And for anyone listening, like, wait a minute. So you're saying, yeah, just hear me out. So after day 5, you get free stem cells after about day 4, right? After day 5, they really proliferate from the bone marrow itself. So I shot a video. I hadn't posted this kind of stuff online, but I just took my shirt off and showed people like my skin, because my skin was glowing basically after like day 5, day 6, and it's been awesome, and it's just a reflection of what's going on inside, right? Just cellular autophagy, and so it was great. And so whenever you're not digesting, you are healing faster, right? Your inflammation is dropping. Your body's going, thank you for not consuming something. We have plenty of fat stored here. It'd be great if you had some minerals, though, to power the right minerals that you can actually absorb to power your thyroid, your adrenals. So this is exactly what I do. So it fit perfectly with that. And I had done a 5-day fast earlier this year, but this really, I kept thinking like, hey, look, I'm willing to eat, but I'm not hungry, and I'm getting so much done. I also had an 80-hour work week that week because I enjoyed getting things done. I was so mentally clear.
Wow.
Actually,
you have grit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you ever feel bad along those 11 days? Did you ever feel bad?
No, not really. I was working out too each morning at the gym with my normal friend, my workout partner, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going? How are you feeling?" After about day 8, I started to feel less strength, but I was still mentally clear. I could still go for a jog, and like actually like running was easier. I felt this lightness about me that I think I didn't realize it, but I had been missing. So that was incredibly interesting.
So were you in ketosis prior to starting the fast?
Um, I wasn't. And that would have made it easier, and I would have recommended that. I was fat adapted. I had taught my body how to burn fat and everything. But yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Yeah.
So let me ask you another question, totally kind of probably not on the right topic, but when a person is looking to get stronger, would you recommend doing fasting? Because I've been told, and I don't know, I'm trying to figure out like the proper amount of protein because I do CrossFit now and I'm really into just getting stronger. Like, would that be, what's the word? Like, not recommended to do a long fast? Or would that still, if you're already in ketosis, would that be protein sparing? Like, you're,
Yeah,
non-catabolic?
that's a great question. I, w- it's still a great practice. You in the short term. So I did measurements and also just rechecked my like PRs strength wise because I was curious. And what I'm benching and squatting right now was yeah within like 5 or 10 pounds, and we're talking of what I was normally doing. And I think that's because I'm still replenishing nutrients, my micronutrients and everything, right? So I had no strength reduction that was noticeable after 3-4 days of coming off this fast and like easing back into eating by doing different things. I'm going to teach a whole course on this because I realized, wow, this is incredible. Like this is a total life hack. And I figured out how to do it without pain and actually work too, and not be in bed for 11 days or something. Like I was more active probably
Oh,
because I was
that's
wearing
cool.
ketones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wearing ketones, which were helping me sleep deeply with less sleep. I was healing my brain, healing my gut in the process. With those elevated ketone levels, I didn't check this time. I know in 5 days I was at about 5 and 4.6. And God, I just remember thinking like, I don't know what I'm at, but it must be really high because I'm really clear. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. I want to do something like that because I have injuries. I have a shoulder thing, I have a knee thing, but I didn't realize
mm.
that that type of extreme fasting could literally help with your injuries. That's cool.
It was partially intuitive and partially science based for me. Yeah, right. You know, if you're getting free free bone free stem cells, which you are, I mean, they're being produced from your bone marrow. Then those for anyone listening, I'm sure you know this, Tracy, but for anyone listening that isn't that familiar, because this is a cutting edge area of the kind of a new frontier that we're only learning about now is these stem cells. They don't care what they become. They don't care what they fix. They're like truly altruistic. You could think of it that way, because they'll come in and go, oh, cool. So you, Tracy, you need to fix this shoulder. So we're going to send a bunch to this shoulder. We're going to send a bunch to this knee. And for me, it was a partial pull of my hamstring, which I'd never happened before, ever. For me, I felt it like it was an all dead out sprint. And I felt it just the last sort of play of the day. And yeah, I mean, I played quarterback in high school, so I was just like having so much fun, like just tossing the ball around and with a few friends, and we just got more competitive, and the grass was wet, and we'd taken our our shoes off. We're grounding, getting grounding in. And if I had just had some cleats on, it probably would have been fine. But yeah, it was slippery, and just like that evening mist sort of thing. And I remember thinking, like, I really hurt myself. I went to bed that night thinking, I might have to have surgery in the morning because I can't really bend my knee. And I woke up in the morning, I could not bend my knee. And I didn't want to put any weight on my opposite leg, which had the partial hamstring pull. So I mean, my hamstring has completely healed. I don't know if it would have or not. I guess if I was still fasting today would be day 20 or 21. So it healed really quickly, I'd say, by the time I was done fasting. And then I have just a deep bruise on my inner knee. So that has healed, I would say, like 95%. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So are stem cells, I want to say the word intuitive, but are they like wise? They come out of the bone marrow and they go, oh, her shoulder's jacked up. Let's go over there and fix it. Like that?
As far as I understand, yes.
Okay.
And they're producing from the bone marrow throughout the skeleton, right? So, I mean, if you have a knee injury, they're coming out of the femur, for example, and getting in. So, yeah, I mean, pretty amazing stuff. The key for all of this, though, I mean, this is 100% true. If anyone wants to see the videos, you can search our YouTube, Upgraded Formulas, or you can see it on Instagram. But I posted a video day 5, day 8, and then about to post one day 11. So if you're listening, whenever, I don't know how long before this goes out, but it'll probably be up. I talk a bit about how I use the certain minerals that I developed, and when I use them, and which ones to use. And all of that really was critical because I was able to not bunk out let's call it on day 3, where you kind of get that sort of like your heart rate is fluttering and you're like not able to go to sleep and your adrenaline is really kicking in. So yeah, there's ways to really help with that. So if you see those videos, check it out. Let me know other questions you want to know, and even if I don't get to it right there, I'll put a course together that is really extensive on all of these topics, because I literally was less interested in food after like day 3 on, and I was able to perform and work and get a lot done, and I'm sure I saved several $100s on food too. So that was cool.
So walk me through, okay, how the whole entire process works with your testing, with your formulas and all that. So
Yeah.
I'm your guinea pig and you say, okay, this is what you need to do, then this, then this. What's the protocol?
Yeah, a great question. So the protocol if someone already, ideally, let's say ideally, you would purchase a test and a consultation on our website, right? And then you would understand through the consultation with one of our nutritionists that are specifically trained to understand this method, what you're missing, what you need to do about it. Some of that is lifestyle, some of that is supplements, some of that is diet. We are diet agnostic, so if someone follows a certain diet, we'll do our best to just provide you recommendations, So if someone's like vegan or vegetarian, we're not going to say, hey, you should start, eating this. We're just going to say, based on the parameters, here's what you need to improve, and here's how you can improve it, which I think is a great way to go about it. And yeah, so it's really great. It's come one, come all that way, and we really tailor it to you. And it's a paradigm shift. I really think for people, it's a really positive experience. And yeah, so really, as far as the supplements go, like taking only what you need is really, really important. Obviously, that saves money and it's really effective. But what you also find that's incredibly important is that you find a lot of people are taking supplements that are actually sending them in the opposite direction, because maybe a long time ago they had a deficiency, but now they don't have that particular deficiency. They have other deficiencies. So what we do is we recommend testing at least every quarter. You can do it every 2 months. Every quarter is great, because it's enough time to take the recommendations, get consistent, do it daily, and then change that course, so that a year from now you've done 4 sessions and you are so much better off in your health. Some people notice the benefits really, really quickly, and you guys can see reviews of that on the website. And some people, it takes a few different sessions to really start making changes, because there's a whole lot of other things too that go into our nutritional needs. So yeah, but I can get into that in a minute. So.
That is interesting. So a multivitamin can be harmful? Is that what I heard you kind of say?
Yes.
You allude to?
Yes. Certainly. And also specific. A multivitamin can certainly be harmful, and I don't recommend multivitamins because it's very much a scattershot approach to a specific request that your body is making. Right? So your body's saying, please give me more chromium, please give me more magnesium or manganese or copper, and instead you may be taking this large sort of across the board thing, and based on some of those formulations, the multivitamin itself will counteract itself based on the mineral synergies and vitamin synergies, or antagonisms, which just means works well together or does not work well together and actually interferes. We've all worked with people, for example, in a team environment where individually we might all be rock stars, and then we come together and for some reason it's not cohesive. And then you work in other groups and other jobs, and you just seem to get so much done. You have a great time. And that's really how the body needs to work at a cellular level. It needs exactly what it needs and nothing else.
So what about vitamins though? I mean, like, you guys have the mineral. What about like your A and your E and, D and all that stuff?
Great. That's a great question. So one of the reasons why I was able to go so long with no pain, 11 days on this fast, was the vitamins. It turns out if your body has sunlight, water, and minerals, it can make the vitamins that you need endogenously, so internally. And that's why they're so special, the minerals, that is. If you're taking a bunch of vitamins by themselves without minerals, those vitamins are useless. Mm-hmm. And a Nobel Prize winner figured that out a long time ago, it turns out, but it's not well known. And yeah, it's really interesting. So yes, I'll say it one more time. Without minerals, your vitamins are useless. And that was just something that I started to see in our hair test and looking at consultations, and talking to people about, hey, what are you supplementing? What are your problems? I know, Tracy, you work with a lot of women in their 50s, I believe, right? And amongst other people, obviously, but we would identify age and certain age-related problems people were experiencing, and when we had noticed what they're supplementing and not supplementing. So I've connected so many dots from doing this so many times. It's really fun it's almost scary when I like how quickly I can connect dots for people on this, because they're like, how do you know that about me? I'm looking at your results, and I'm also like just this pattern recognition machine at this point. Which is so fun. I think people finally feel listened to and heard and like individually taken care of.
Well, you said a lot of stuff I want to ask more about. So you said about the sunlight. So that's vitamin D, right? And we know that most of our country, like a large percentage, is D deficient. So, what is your exact recommendation about sunlight? Because I live in California, so I'm lucky. I mean, you're in Texas, so you are too.
You
But
are.
how much, I know that the color of your skin makes a difference with deabsorption. The whole bullshit about, whoops, um, about sunscreen, right? Inhibits absorption of D.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you recommend for sunlight?
Gosh, I mean, that's a really great question. Even showering right after sun exposure, from what I've heard, can wash off a secretion that's happening on your skin, which is like kind of this thing where, well, yeah, but I want to rinse off the toxins too. So it's just like, what part do you do? And I think the key there is just getting frequent sunlight. So, right. So you're right. Like, yeah,
I'm
you're
sorry.
laughing. What, you have a thought? You're having a thought?
I'm laughing because you said showering, and I'm like, wait, isn't being in the pool almost like a shower?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, no, that's great. I just wanted to hear what you're thinking. That's I think a common thought. The recommendation I have and that I follow myself, literally like today, this morning, is 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight a day because I'm in a very sun-rich area. If you're further north, if you're further from the equator, if it's a different time of year, if you're on off-peak hours, um, in other words, after say 6 p.m. or so, you're really going to benefit from a more sun. But I walk around, I take my shirt off, and I get as much skin exposure, which is unfortunately is like tough to do as a woman, based on our social sort of whatever we want to call them. So I don't have a great solution. The women in Europe seem to have figured this out a long time ago, which is just like, hey, we're going to do whatever we want to, whatever we need to do. And some of that is, tanning, and really exposing quite a bit of skin. But that's the best way that I think there is to do it. And I'm sorry if it doesn't fit into the normal, so rigid
Culture.
social or culture. Yeah.
I have a funny story
Um,
for you. So I was in Europe after college, and I'm on EOS in Greece. I don't know, I was on a Greek island laying out with some girl that I met. We were traveling together, and I'm topless, of course, because you're in Greece. And all of a sudden, I hear this, "Hey, Trace!" And I'm like, "Who? What?" All these fraternity guys from college were there. I had no
oh wow.
idea. So that was
Uh,
pretty embarrassing.
that's that's hilarious.
So, but let's talk
Yeah,
about this.
that's
This is a problem. Like, what do we do in the winter? Like, I have
what.
recommended those happy lamps or whatever to clients of mine, a happy light,
Yep.
Vibrelux. What do you think
Yeah.
about tanning beds? Let's.
Yeah. I think your first recommendation is really good. I know I'd spoken on a summit with Dr. Mercola, who I've learned from for a long time as well in a number of different areas, and he's recommended those. Um, There, yeah, I mean, I like the red light therapy as well in winter, just to power the mitochondria. Um, the tanning beds, do your own research, small amounts of specific ones that only provide a certain specific light spectrum. I'll just leave it at that for that's looking at that, and I'd say, use it with caution, obviously, um, and probably not exceed 5 minutes. Even if they don't have the was it UVB? I think it's been a while since I've looked in because I haven't used that personally, but I know that's been a general recommendation that makes sense. But in general, I think tanning beds put out a lot of EMF, so it's another reason. I just imagined that they would because it's such an intensity. and you're so close to it. So that's a thought. Yeah, sun really, it's the way to go. Find some place you can get topless and do it if you're a female listening to it to this. And then guys, like hell, I mean, we got it easy. Just take your shirt off and go for a walk. If you're not comfortable doing that, then it's time to get in better shape, or it's time to fully accept yourself, or both.
Ooh, both.
So, which brings me to a thought that I've had a lot recently, which is trauma and mineral deficiencies. The more trauma we have that we don't appropriately deal with, the faster our burn rate of our nutrients are, because we're producing more cortisol. We are not relaxed when we could be relaxed. Just a side note I wanted to throw in there.
And now this country's on a state of chronic stress, in a state of chronic stress, everybody. So that would make a lot of sense for right now. So how could people like find you and get started on this whole journey? Like, I'm really curious.
Sure.
I want to know for me too. And you said hair, you test hair. That's how you get.
Yes. Yes, hair, it turns out, so the EPA's used hair for a long time to decide if a place had heavy metal exposure, severe. It's much more accurate than blood. And yeah, so to answer your question, upgradedformulas.com is definitely the place to go to get started. Anyone listening can use code Barton10 for 10% off your first purchase. And or you can check out the subscribe and save options, which I highly recommend. We make that, a really good incentive for you, because consistency is the way that this is going to work long term. When you take our upgraded magnesium, which is going to help with that anxiousness and anxiety, that was one of the supplements I really leaned on during my fast, in calming down enough to go to bed and sleep well. Like that's available. I highly recommend picking that up. Our upgrade iodine is antiviral. That's been the case for many, many years, and ours just is one that actually tastes really good. It tastes about like water, or kind of like coconut water. It's not flavored. It's just what I was able to get it to. A lot of them taste like cough syrup or worse. They're really, really bad. And they also don't absorb very well. You get about 20% absorption of virtually everything that you've ever experienced from a vitamin or supplement. So this is absorption right around 100%. So even if you're paying more for it, you're absorbing anywhere from 5 to 10 times more, even to 20 times more in the case of, say, magnesium oxide versus upgraded magnesium. You're looking at about 4% versus 99.99% availability to the cell. So that's key. I know it bounced around there, but what else were we talking about? Website.
So you start off with a hair test.
Yeah, you start off with the hair test, and any other sort of nutrients that you know that you're deficient in. Like 96% of people are deficient in iodine, 98% of people are deficient in potassium. That study for iodine, it was 6,000 people, and some of which were already supplementing iodine. This is a key also for if you know any women in your life that are pregnant or going to be pregnant soon or have been pregnant, which is a large category. They'll give birth to children that are IQ depressed, so like by as many as 20 points if they have an iodine deficiency. This is huge. You can look more into it, but that is huge. It's the difference between, I know college is starting to become somewhat archaic in a lot of professions, but imagine wanting to go to college. This is the difference between 100 and 120 IQ points. This is the difference between getting into, Stanford and not getting into any college, really. It's huge. So yeah, that's a big one. What I'm trying to say is I know some people will want to get started quickly, and here's some of the things you can get started quickly, immediately. You can order all of this at once. Those are the products that are frequently bought together with a hair test and consultation, and very frequently recommended. So, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Those are, yeah, it's just some great questions. I hope this is valuable for anyone that took the time to listen this far.
Well, I have
Yeah.
another question for you. If a woman is looking to really get to the top of their game, do it, a 180 and change the trajectory of her health, what would you tell her she needs to do?
Well, I know the topic of hormones comes up a lot lately, and the building blocks of hormones are two things. They are fats and they are minerals. Um, from that, we derive all of our hormones, whether it's progesterone or estrogen, testosterone, all of these things, and we need a balance of these. So, um, this is part of the reason why I love this very, very comprehensive test, is because with looking at certain ratios, the first place I would have her start, there will be other things, but the first place I have her start is with this test and with the consultation, because I want to know her zinc to copper ratio. I want to know what her thyroid ratio looks like. I want to know what her iron to copper ratio looks like. I want to know what her, certainly, this is a big one, her metabolic ratio, which we see also through minerals. If you know what to look for, these things aren't like blatantly printed on the test, but I've trained everyone through upgraded formulas that you would be talking to. It's a phone call too, by the way. I don't think I said that. So you can do this anywhere in the world. That said, our testing is available only US, Canada at the moment, but give us, maybe by the time this comes out, it'll be available worldwide. Yeah, so that's exciting. So probably by mid-October 2020, if you're listening to this, you can check the website and see if you're in one of these other countries. We've been working on it for a while for you. We've had a lot of requests, and I can thankfully say it's just a matter of time. So hang in there. But yeah, that is really the key, because I want to see glucose sensitivity too, and we can really, really tell that. So when I looked at Ben Greenfield's results for him on his podcast, that was one metric that he really nailed perfectly, was his glucose sensitivity. And yeah, so these are key areas, right? And then top of their game, I see a lot of women just not eating enough protein. Very super common trend. I can see you have good muscle mass, so this is a mistake you probably don't make. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Good lean muscle.
How much protein do you suggest, though? Because I always feel like I don't eat enough.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would say the answer depends, and we have a better idea when we look at someone's individual results based on their individual goals,
Okay.
and then what their test results are saying. At that point, I can give an accurate answer, or one of our nutritionists can.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I've got to do that then, because I really I take my workout seriously, but I know that if you can do all the work, but if you don't do all the repair, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you just feel stronger. You feel lighter. There's traditionally this idea that a lot of women have, right? I'm sure you've talked to many women that you've worked with, and you probably had to coach them out of this idea that they're going to get very muscular very quickly. It's like by either lifting, which is great, and everyone should do it twice a week at least. Lift heavy things, go for a run, sprint, and get to a place where you can sprint once a week or so if you can. Really move, get a yoga session in on the weekends or something to limber up. But yeah, so that idea, which, look, there's so many guys out there would love much more muscle mass. If it was that easy, we would put it on, and we have quite a bit more testosterone, which should make it a lot easier. But that, and then I don't want to eat too much protein with this thing, let's say the salad that I'm eating because, I'm going to get bulky. It's like, well, actually, you're going to give your metabolism what it needs to really run at a higher rate. So it's like investing money. It's just like building muscle mass and supplying that muscle with good protein, quality protein, and plenty of it is so essential. So yeah, I would say we have a tagline that we've trademarked, and it's test, don't guess. And that's why like a lot of my answers are like, I know I keep coming back to this, but yeah. So
Okay.
And it's at home, and it's hair, and it's so much better than blood. Because blood is a snapshot of a day's worth of data, and that could be influenced by, I don't know, did you have 3 glasses of wine last night? Or that's going to affect things from a hormone ratio, men and women, even as far back as 72 hours. So it's very transient. Hair is 4 to 6 weeks of data. It's a trend.
What if you color it?
If you color it, you can still take that ½ inch closest to the scalp down by the nape of your neck where you almost certainly don't have much color, or you have no color, which is great. That's a great question, actually. I get it a lot. And then even if all of it's colored, you can still it's still valuable. You can still send it in. You don't have to wait. You'll just get just tell the nutritionist that, because you'll get some false positives on things like tin, for example, TIN, and other like metals, because we'll think, oh, wait, that's in the body, and it's really, in that particular case, it's in the hair. So yeah, that's really key. I mean, hair is super available, and it has about 10,000 times more per nutrient that we test than blood. So we're getting a larger sample size. It's like asking 10,000 people what they think versus 10 people what they think, and then going, here's what everyone thinks on this issue. Let's make decisions about it. What do you think is better? Once you understand that, you go, oh, wow. Well, yeah, I guess so. The problem is it wasn't taught in medical schools. So like in the 90s or 80s. So it's not in the text that doctors today that are practicing have. So they weren't trained in it. So they're just like with anything, blood included. And oh my God, there's so many things, right? Like blood included, there's labs that do poor jobs. There's labs that do incredible jobs. So a big part of what I've done and the value that we offer is that we've figured out which labs those are, and your results go to those labs depending on what country. So yeah, that's been a monumental step too, because not every lab tests the same hair specimen the same way. They use different processes that, like, some of these I was familiar with from studying organic chemistry, like mass spec and different things, and others just have outdated equipment, and they're trying to do a good job, but they don't have the quality control. So we've checked these out, and that's valuable as well. Yeah.
Exciting. I love all this news stuff so that we can become stronger, because I'm telling you guys, like, to the listeners, the government is doing everything backwards. The medical, like, they're not fixing the problem. With all the millions of people on statin drugs, heart disease is still the #1 killer. It's not working. So you need to look at your body more from a holistic perspective, and don't listen to mainstream doctors. Like, they're great at surgery and at emergency care, but this is the type of stuff that we need if we want to age with energy, without aches and pains, and be able to kick ass and drive yourself and go and do all the fun stuff instead of suffering with disease for decades. Right? Barton, come on.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Like, I'm banging the same drum here. I mean, it's our company is focused on longevity, and it's focused on mental performance. If you have those two, you can have clarity of thought, and you can figure the rest of your life out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. I had a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. I'm inspired to do the test and to do an extended fast.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. This was fun. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'd definitely love to share this with my audience too. So yeah, just let me know when it comes out. And this has been exciting. If anyone else wants to like follow along, you can see what I mean. Like I think for your like female audience, they'll find this interesting. The skin improvements have been phenomenal. Like minerals drive that too, and it's been surprising. Like the improvements that have been made there. So I posted about that at Barton Scott _ on Instagram, or Upgraded Formulas on Instagram. You can find more about that. But yeah, Tracy, this is great. I think we covered a lot of great stuff here.
Yeah, it was fun. Awesome. Oh my gosh, that was a really, really fun interview. I hope you enjoyed the show. For complete show notes, head on over to highenergygirl.com/show. If you like the video, please give us a like and let us know. Are you experiencing any brain fog yourself? And we will plug you in and help you. So go out and make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.